Okay, let's continue the lecture which we have been discussing. So, in the previous class, I started about the scheduling algorithms, which is first come first served scheduling algorithm. Before that, I just want to remind you about this concept of preemption, non-preemption. So, what is preemption, non-preemption? Is in some scheduling algorithms, the process can be stopped. The process can be stopped. So that is called as preemption, preemptive scheduling system. In some of the systems, we cannot stop the process. So once the process is into the CPU, so we cannot stop. That is called as non-preemptive systems. But in some systems, we can stop the process. That is called as preemptive systems. So why do we need to know about these 2 points? Is some scheduling algorithms which we are discussing are preemptive. Some scheduling algorithms are non-preemptive. Okay, so please, as I told you, that always remember my patient and doctor example. Okay, so sometimes we can stop the patient and say, can you please stop? Sometimes we cannot stop the patient. Okay, so the doctor has to complete the job. So in the same way, when the process just a second. When the process enters CPU, sometimes we can stop, sometimes we cannot stop. What do we mean by can stop and we cannot stop? This is depending upon the scheduling system. So some operating systems are preemptive, some operating systems are non-preemptive. Okay, so the examples are given here. Windows are preemptive systems, even Linux, Mac operating system. I already explained to you this point, and some of them are non-preemptive. Okay, now as we have seen, the first come first served scheduling algorithm, that was easy to understand. So when we look at the process, we look at the arrival time, and whichever the process has come first, that will go to the CPU first. So this is called as first come first serve, and I have explained to you how do we calculate the waiting time and how do we calculate the turnaround time. Today we'll see a few more examples to understand it completely. Okay, now we have another example here. Process 1, process 2, process 3. As I told you in the last class, for us, for the first come first serve algorithm, what is important is arrival time. Arrival time. Name of the process is not important. P1, P2, P3 is of no use. What is important for us? The arrival time. So which process has come first? If you look at this question here, process 2 has come first, then process 3, then process 2. Okay, so if you understand this example, so process 2 will start at 0 milliseconds, okay, and it will finish at 3 milliseconds because the CPU burst. This is, I told you, the CPU burst. I'm keep on repeating some words because it should stamp in your mind. What do you mean by stamp in your mind? You should never forget them. Okay, so what is CPU burst? The time the process goes to the CPU. That is CPU burst. The time the process go to the CPU is the CPU burst time. Okay, so process 2 will go to the CPU for 3 milliseconds. It will complete the job at 3 milliseconds. Then as per the arrival time, this has completed. Now process 3 will go to the CPU. So it will go from here 3 milliseconds and it will take 3 milliseconds to complete the job. Then after that, process 1 will go to CPU, start from here and complete the job at 30 milliseconds. Okay. Now this is the way the first come first serve algorithm is scheduled. What is important for us? Arrival time. Arrival time, when the process has arrived. And now what is the formula for calculating the waiting time and turnaround time? So I told you the waiting time is, I gave you the formulas in the last class. I am repeating again. Start time minus arrival time. One point should stamp in your mind. Why do we have to subtract the arrival time? If you remember last class, I explained to you why do we have to subtract the arrival time. Remember the hospital example I told you. Again, I am repeating because these points should stick in your mind. As I told you, this lecture is very important. for the exam point of view also, you should know all the algorithms properly. Okay, why we should not count the arrival time? Okay, again I will repeat, which I repeated in the previous class, hospital example, so that you might be thinking teacher is explaining again and again the same point, but my point is you should remember it properly. Okay, so hospital example, hospital start at 8, for example, 8 a.m. Patient 1 went to hospital at 8, go to the doctor at 8:15. Okay, now tell me how long the patient 1 was waiting.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. So this is 15 minutes. Now patient 2 went to the doctor, went to the hospital 8:10, went to the doctor at 8:20. So how long patient 2 was waiting?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Why don't we say, because hospital is opening at 8 o'clock, why don't we say that the patient is waiting for 20 minutes? Because the patient came at 8:10. So when the hospital is open, that is none of our business. What is the thing we need to look into exactly? The hospital opened at 8 o'clock, that is fine. That is fine. But the patient came at 8:10. So we start counting from 8:10 to 8:20. So that's why we say the patient was waiting for only 10 minutes. We don't say the patient was waiting 20 minutes because patient did not come at 8 o'clock. Okay, so hope this point is clear. That's why what do? Always we subtract the arrival time. That's why we say minus arrival time always, because we don't want to count when it has started. If you look at our example scenario, the CPU starts at 0 milliseconds. The CPU starts at 0 millisecond. If you look at the example here, so the system starts at 0 millisecond. Okay, so process 1 exactly directly, like patient 1 I told you, directly going to the CPU. So no waiting process 2 because waiting time is 0. But if you look at process 3, process 3 came at 1 millisecond, which means, like I told you the hospital example, hospital started at 8 o'clock. But patient 3 here, like take patient 2, patient 3. So patient 3 did not come at 0, which means at 8 o'clock. Patient 3 came at 8:10, which means somewhere here. We should not count this time. That's why we always minus arrival time. We always minus arrival time. That's why the formula is that. Okay, so waiting time is start time so start time minus arrival time. So when we go back, so what is the start time of process 1? Process 1 starts at 0 millisecond, arrival at 0 milliseconds. So that's why process 2 starts at 0 millisecond, arrival at 0 milliseconds. Process 3 starts at 3 millisecond, arrival at 1 millisecond. So that's why process 3, if you look at logically also, process 3 starting to work at 3 milliseconds. But when it came at 1 millisecond. At 1 millisecond it came. So which means it was not waiting for 3 milliseconds. It was just waiting for only 2 milliseconds. That's why 3 milliseconds minus arrival time 1 millisecond is equal to 2 milliseconds. So that is what logical thinking. So we should understand logically the process 3 was waiting for only 2 milliseconds. It was not waiting for 3 milliseconds. Same thing applies for process 1. So process 1 starts at 6 milliseconds. But how long it was waiting? Without knowing the formula, we know that process 2 came at 2 milliseconds, which means process 2 came somewhere. Process 2 came somewhere here at 2 milliseconds. So process 2 came at somewhere at 2 milliseconds. It was not waiting this time. It was waiting from 2 milliseconds to 6 milliseconds. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So which means it was waiting for only 4 milliseconds. If you look at the formula, start time at 6 milliseconds minus arrival time 2 milliseconds is equal to 4 milliseconds. So that is the logical formula. That is the logical formula. That's why we don't count when the system has started. We count when the process has arrived in the system. That's why always remember one point, easy point for all the algorithms. Remember this one point, always subtract arrival time, because we don't want to count that time. Always subtract arrival time. That's one point you can keep in your mind. Okay, so that's how we calculated process 1, 6 milliseconds start time minus 2 milliseconds arrival time is equal to 4 milliseconds. Process 2, start time 0 milliseconds, arrival time 0 milliseconds, so 0, which means not waiting anything, 0, straight away, no waiting for process 2, it started. Process 3, start time 3 milliseconds, but it was waiting, it came at 1 millisecond, so it was waiting for only 2 milliseconds. So total 4 plus 0 plus 2, that is 6 milliseconds, divided by 3 is 2 milliseconds. So this is the average waiting time for the process, which means these processes are waiting for 2 milliseconds on average. And I told you about turnaround time. So what is turnaround time? When the process has arrived and when the process has completed. So what is the formula we need to look into? Finish time minus arrival time. Finish time minus arrival time. Now, if you look at the algorithm, the Gantt chart here, I told you this is called as a Gantt chart. Okay, so be clear. Okay, now what we need to look for? We need to look for the completion time. I told you what is turnaround time. When the process has started and finished, the total time is called as turnaround time. Keep this point in your mind. Okay, when the process has started, when the process has completed, the total time is called as turnaround time. Now, if you look at this example, so the process, they are doing only one time. So process 1 started, finished here. Process 3 started, finished here. Process 1 started, finished here. But later on, you will see some other algorithms. What will happen in the other algorithms is process will start for some time, then it will stop for some time, another process will start, then process 1 will start. We'll see that. Okay, so here from 0, I'm just giving example, 0 to 5 milliseconds it was working, then here 3 milliseconds it was not working, again for 4 milliseconds it was working. Now if you look at this 5, okay, 8, let me say 12, let me say 12. Okay, now logically if I ask you when process 1 has completed, when process 1 has completed, when process 1 has completed the job totally in the end?
24.
No, see, in this example, the example which I put here, so process started at 0 milliseconds, it has finished the job at 5 milliseconds, but process 1 is not completed the job. Maybe here 5 milliseconds, process 1 was doing some input and output. Okay, so process 2 is in the CPU, process 1 is doing input and output, so process 1 has not completed the job. Again it will come back at 8 milliseconds, like I told you the patient example. So patient 1 in the CPU, or say the process 1 in the CPU, now process 1 input and output, again process 1 in the CPU. Okay, so like I told you the example of the patient and the doctor. So patient with the doctor for some time, then went for some medical or something, again came to the doctor for another time. So if I ask you when the patient has completed the job, we'll say the patient came at 0 and completed the job at 12 milliseconds. So the total time when it has come, when it has completed. But if you look at the real scenario, in between it was waiting. But when we say turnaround time, we calculate the total time. Turnaround time includes waiting time also. Please remember that. That's why what we need to look for the turnaround time, we need to look the last one when it has completed the job. Now for us, this is the turnaround time. If I ask you for process 2, what is the turnaround time? You will say turnaround time is 8 milliseconds is the turnaround time. But as I told you logically, we need to always subtract the arrival time because process 1 coming at 0. But maybe process 2 completed the job at 8 milliseconds, but maybe it might have come little late, not at 0 milliseconds. So that's why we always have to subtract arrival time. So when we apply that formula, for turnaround time, so process 1, what is the formula for turnaround time? Finish time or the end time. Finish time is 30 milliseconds minus arrival time. Arrival time is 2 milliseconds. So 28 milliseconds it has taken to complete the job. 28 milliseconds it has taken to complete the job. Then you will get a question like I told you. Teacher, this process is only 24 milliseconds. Why it has taken 28 milliseconds to complete the job? What it was doing the other time? Can you answer?
Waiting.
It was waiting. So if you understand logically, look at the picture. If you understand logically, process 1 came to the system at 2 milliseconds here. Okay, so 1 millisecond it was waiting, and process 3 is going to take 3 milliseconds. So 4, 5, 6. So which means here process 1 was waiting. Process 1 was waiting from 2 milliseconds to 6 milliseconds, and 6 milliseconds it has started working to complete the job at 30 milliseconds. But when we understand turnaround time is not the execution time. Turnaround time when it has come to the system and when it has completed the job. That the total time is called as a turnaround time. And if you understand, 24 milliseconds is the time which it was working in the system plus 4 milliseconds was the waiting time. That's why it is turnaround time. Hope the point is clear now. Let's go to process 2. Process 2, when it has completed the job at 3 milliseconds. And what is the arrival time? 0. So 3 milliseconds. If you understand logically also, process 2 came straight away, completed the job straight away. How long it has taken to complete the job? 3 milliseconds. That's it. No waiting time for this. Okay, and it did not come late. So that's why minus arrival time is also 0. Okay, so process 3 completed the job at 6 milliseconds. It came to the system at 1 millisecond. So the turnaround time is 5 milliseconds. So if you understand logically, again, 6 milliseconds, only 3 milliseconds is the time for the process 3. But what about the remaining 2 milliseconds? It was waiting. So it came at 1 millisecond. It was waiting here for process 2 to complete for 2 milliseconds. Then it started working, which took 3 milliseconds. So 2 plus 3 is 5 milliseconds. So that is how you should understand the system with formula and with logical thinking also. So when we do that, so the turnaround time, process 1 28, process 2 3, and process 3 5 milliseconds. Total is 36 milliseconds divided by 3 is 12 milliseconds, which means the process is going to take on average 12 milliseconds to complete. Some process more time, some process less time, but on average they are going to take 12 milliseconds to complete. Okay, so now we need to discuss the advantages, disadvantages of this algorithm. I am taking more time for first algorithm because remaining algorithm understanding depending upon this. Okay, so what is the advantage of first come first serve algorithm? Easy to implement, easy to understand. Why? Because first come, first serve. No complication, like the hospital thing. Who comes in first will go to the CPU first. So that is the first come, first serve. Easy to implement, easy to understand. What are the disadvantages of this algorithm? Waiting time not likely to be minimal. So what this says that if I apply this algorithm, waiting time is more. How do we prove that? We will see other algorithms. Okay, we will see other algorithms and we make out that waiting time is not minimal. Waiting time is actually more in this algorithm, which means this algorithm is having some problem. We have to prove that. I will show you the example. Okay. Another problem is convoy effect. What is convoy effect is, I will give you the example to remember this. Okay, so we have the experience when the marriage convoy, the marriage convoy goes, like, we go on the road with all the marriage cars, wedding cars. So you go on the road and backside, if there is a person who is not from the marriage party, they have to wait for these people to go. Another example I want to tell you, like, the people lives in Muscat. They have the experience. If the Sultan convoy go, His Majesty convoy go, so the police stop everyone. After the convoy has completed, which means after every car has left, then only the people can go. That is called as a convoy effect, which means if one big person is going, okay, the other people, the small people have to wait. That is convoy effect. So why they give this example here is because sometimes what happens is lots of small process can stuck behind one big process. Why? Because this algorithm is first come first serve. Imagine one process. Okay, so one process has got 100 milliseconds, long time to complete, and there is one process will take only 2 milliseconds to complete. What about this process? There is another process which will take 1 millisecond to complete. What they have to do, like, sometimes it happens with us. We need to go to the doctor. We have just a small problem, but we see in front of us there is a patient sitting for a long time with the doctor, not giving the chance to others. So this is what will happen if the process is big, 100 milliseconds. What about these two small process? They have to wait because this algorithm is first come first serve. We cannot remove this. I told you, removing, not removing is preemptive, non-preemptive. And keep this point in your mind. First come first serve algorithm is, underline this point, is non-preemptive. What do we mean by non-preemptive? If the process has started, we cannot stop it. That's why I started my today's discussion with preemptive, non-preemptive. If the process started, we cannot stop. So first come first serve algorithm is non-preemptive. If this process has started 100 milliseconds, we cannot stop. Once after completing this only, process 2, process 3 can go. But if you see the example, process 2, only 2 milliseconds. Process 3, only 1 millisecond. So just to complete 1 millisecond, I have to wait for 100 milliseconds. It is not fair. Yeah, it is not good. That's why this algorithm having a convoy effect. So what is convoy effect? Lots of small process can get stuck behind one big process. Okay, so another problem is response time. What is response time? I told you it is all linked with the waiting time also. So the response time is, we have seen already, when the process went to the CPU first, that is called as a response time. If you look at this algorithm, the response time is very bad, not good. Okay, so poor response time, bad for the time sharing systems, because the time sharing systems, they want to run quickly into the system. So there are some disadvantages of this algorithm. So what is the solution? But I don't say that which is good, which is bad. We are actually discussing about the algorithms. Some operating systems follow combination of algorithms. Okay, not only just one single algorithm. That's why we need to know about all of them. Okay, another point now, the algorithm is priority scheduling. What is priority scheduling is, like I gave you the hospital example. What is first come first serve example? Like we are following the queue. first come serve is like following the queue. So patient 1 will go to the doctor. Patient 2 will go to the doctor next. Patient 3 will go to the doctor. Patient 4 will go to the doctor. Patient 5 will go to the doctor according to the queue. And if you remember, I told you one example. If one patient comes with emergency, can we follow the queue now? If the patient comes with emergency, I gave you already the example last week. If a patient comes with emergency, can we say wait in the queue?
No.
So what is your thought? What is your thought? Can we tell the patient to wait in the queue?
No.
No. So our straight answer is no. We cannot do this because it is emergency. It is a dangerous situation. This patient is critical, which means very, serious condition. We cannot wait. So what we say, okay, first you go to the doctor immediately. So this is the algorithm which we call it as a priority. Priority. So what is priority? Priority is like a emergency situation. Remember the examples. My examples easy to understand the concept. Like I told you, always remember patient and doctor example. Okay, so priority. So why do we have the priority? Because some process in the system, some process are important. So we cannot stop them. We have to send to the system. Okay, now what we do, we have some concept called priority. What is priority? For each process, we give a number. Okay, this process is priority number 1. This process is priority number 4. This process is priority number 2. This process is priority number 3. This process is priority number, let's say 6 or 5. So what we do with each process, we give one number. Okay, so this number is called as a priority. Now what do? We don't have a queue. We don't see which is first, which is second. We have a priority. What do you mean by priority? Which is important, which is not important process. According to that, we are going to send the process to the system. Hope the point is clear. What is priority? Priority is a number. We give priority to each process according to the priority, not according to the time. Time is not important. According to the priority, we are going to send the process to the system. Okay, so is the point clear, students?
Yes.
Is the point clear?
Yes.
Okay, now what do we do? Suppose we want to, I'll just put the example here so you know we follow easily. Now, which process will go to the CPU first? If you look at this example here, which one will go to the CPU first? According to the priority, which one is the first one?
P1.
P1. Okay, so P1 will go to the CPU first. Okay, so 0 milliseconds, it will finish. Next one?
B3.
P3. Very good. So it will go next. So P3 will finish. Then after that?
B4.
P4. Good. So I hope you understand the point now. We don't look when the process has come. There will be arrival time for sure. There will be arrival time in the question. I will show you the example. Okay, so process 1 came at 0 milliseconds. Process 2 came at say 2 milliseconds. Process 3 also came at 2 milliseconds. Process 4 came at 3 milliseconds. Process 4 came at 4 milliseconds. There will be arrival time. We don't look for the time. Okay, if you look at this, process 1 is the first one. It will go to the CPU because it came first. Also, the priority is this. Okay, so next we have two processes. Both came at the same time. Both came at the same time, but this is important because the priority is 2. That's why process 3 will go in the system. So that is this algorithm. Let me read about that. So in priority scheduling, each process is allotted a priority when it arrives. So what happens whenever the process comes to the system, we are going to allocate a priority. Okay, so the CPU is allotted to the process with highest priority. So which process will go to the CPU? It will be with the highest priority. What is priority? Priorities are represented by numbers. That's why I gave you the example with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now what is the main point? Low number means high priority. So process 1 with priority 1 is more important than process with priority number 4. Small number means high priority. Remember this, not the big number. Priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3, then priority number 4. Okay, so process with the same priority are executed in first come first serve manner. So what is this example here? Two process with the same priority. Process 4 and process 5 priority is 3, and for this also priority 3. Both of them are same priority. Then which one will go to the CPU? According to the arrival time. Suppose process 4 came at 4 milliseconds, process 5 came at 3 milliseconds. Now what do we do? Which one is the first one? We will choose that. Hope the point is clear. If the process priority is same, both of them same priority, then we choose according to the first come first serve. So accordingly, process 5 will go to the system, then we are going to get the process 4. Is that clear, students?
Yes, Mr.
Okay, so that is the point which is mentioned here. Process with the same priority are executed in first come first serve manner. Okay, now there are different types of scheduling algorithms in the priority: preemptive, non-preemptive. What is preemptive? We can stop. Here non-preemptive, we cannot stop. So we have to see the examples for both of them. We have to see the examples of both of them. How do we use preemptive? How do we use non-preemptive? Okay, now look at this example. Like already I gave you the example here. Process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4. The burst time, the time for completion is this. Now we need to schedule them according to the priority. So according to the queue, like already we discussed the example, process 2 is with the highest priority 1. So process 2 is the first one. Then process 1 is with highest priority. So process 1. Then process 4 and then process 3. So that's why we say process 2, process 1, process 4, process 3 according to the priority. Is that clear, this Gantt chart?
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
Okay, now we can apply the same formula what we have learned in the previous example, calculating the waiting time, calculating the turnaround time. So waiting time, we calculate start time minus arrival time. But if you look at this example, you don't have arrival time. So you will be lucky if you don't have arrival time. So straight away, what is the waiting time? So process 2 waiting time 0, process 1 waiting time 3, process 4 waiting time 24, process 3 waiting time 26. So divided, we are going to calculate the average. So the 0 plus 3 plus 24 plus 26, divided by 4. This is the average waiting time. Same thing for the turnaround time. Is it there? No. I will put turnaround time. So turnaround time, finish time minus arrival time, but here there is no arrival time. So process 1 completed the job at 3 milliseconds, plus process 1 completed the job at 24 milliseconds, plus process 4 completed the job at 26 milliseconds, plus process 3 completed the job at 32 milliseconds. So we make the total divided by 4. So that's where we get the average turnaround time. So this is easy. This is easy because this is, remember, non-preemptive. Very important point. Now we are going to discuss what is non-preemptive priority. We have two models, preemptive and non-preemptive. What is non-preemptive? Once the process started, we cannot stop it. That is non-preemptive. That's why the process is starting here, we cannot stop, it will finish. If the process is starting here, small one or big one doesn't matter, it will finish, then only we can start process 4. After completion of this, only we can start process 3. That's why this is an example of non-preemptive. Now, very important and very critical example is coming up. That is preemptive priority. Very dangerous, very important, and very difficult to understand. You have to pay attention now. Okay. Now, understand this preemptive. Very important to understand now. I will go back to my general example. Okay, so let us go back to the hospital again. Okay, patient is critical. Okay, patient is critical. I told you patient is critical means emergency. Emergency. So this patient, say patient 1, will go to the doctor. Now we got another patient. Patient 2, more critical. What will you do now? Patient 2 is more critical. Also, this is emergency. So what will you do now? Think and tell me. Patient 1 is critical, we send to the doctor. Now we got another patient, but this patient is more critical. What do we do?
We will stop patient 1 and start patient 2.
Okay, so good answer. So we have patient 1 already, but patient 2 is more critical. So we stop patient 1 and we say, patient 2, you go to the doctor now. Do you understand? Now, you gave me one important word. We stop patient 1. Now, this is the important point I am looking for. What do you mean by stop here? This is preemptive. I told you what is preemptive scheduling. Preemptive means we can stop the process. We can stop the process. Okay, now in the computer example, how do we relate this example? So this is process 1, and I say critical means priority. Priority is number 2. Okay, so we send this process to CPU. Now we got process 2, and here the process 2 priority is 3. Look at the question and carefully answer me. Process 1 is priority 2 already in the CPU. Already in the CPU. Okay, now we got process 2 with the priority 3. Will you stop process 1 and send process 2, or will you continue process 1? Tell me.
We will continue process 1.
Look at the priority. We will continue process 1. Why? Because priority number 2 is more important than priority number 3. Why? Because we discussed just now in the lecture that small number means highest priority, big number means low priority. So which means, as per the general hospital example, patient 1 is important, patient 2 is not that important. That's why I gave you the opposite example to you to understand the point. So patient 1 was with the doctor, we got patient 2, but not that important. So what we can say, you wait for some time. We will not send you, we wait because we have important patient with the doctor. Same thing. Now we look at the priority. So priority here is 2 and priority here is 3. Still process 1 is the important process, so we will not stop process 1. Okay, the opposite example. We get a process with priority number 1. Now in this situation, what we will do? We will stop process 1, okay, and we will send process 2 because process 2 is now more important. Do you understand the concept? The priority preemptive.
Yes.
Okay, so what do we do now in the system? What do we do now in the system? Like, remember the hospital example. When the patient comes in, we look at the priority. Okay, if the priority is more, we stop the patient who is with the doctor, we take a new patient. Again, third patient comes, we look at the priority. If the priority is more, we take patient number 3, we stop patient number 2. Likewise, always, what do we look for? We look for the priority. We look for the priority, and because this algorithm is, preemptive algorithm, we can stop the process. If it is non-preemptive algorithm, we cannot stop the process. We cannot stop. But since they have given in the question or the method that the algorithms are of 2 types, please remember when you get the question, look for this. Whether the question is preemptive or the question is non-preemptive. If it is non-preemptive, we need not stop. We will continue the process. But if the question is preemptive, we have to stop the process. Now let us look at and understand the example. Okay, now what do we do here is we have 3 processes. Now this becomes little complicated to understand. We have to understand properly. Okay, so process 1, process 2, process 3, arrival time 0, arrival time 1, arrival time 2. Now this is the time which will take to complete the job, and this is the priority. Okay, now one critical question, and you will get confused with this. You have to understand this point very carefully. Very, very important point to understand. Now, if you look at the priority, which one should go to the CPU first?
P3.
Look at the priority.
P2.
P2, because P2, as we discussed, small number means high priority. So this has got highest priority, 0. After that, P3, after that it's going to be P1. So according to the priority, this is priority number 1, this is priority number 2, this is priority number 3. But if you look at the answer here, P1 is in the system. What P1 is doing here? Can someone think and give me the answer? This is as what? Very important to understand now. Very important to understand. Why do you think P1 is there in the system when we have the priority 2, 0, 1?
I think because arrival time.
Yes, very good answer, very good thinking. Because of arrival time. So imagine that at 0 milliseconds, I will go back to the hospital example again. 8 o'clock, hospital is opening, patient number 1. Okay, patient number 1, go to the doctor. Okay, because 8 o'clock, there is only one patient and there is no other patient now. When we have only one patient, we will send directly the patient to the doctor. We will not look for the priority here. Because no one here in the system. Do you understand that now?
No, mister.
See, at 8 o'clock in the hospital, there is only one patient. Do you want this patient to wait, or will you send the patient to the doctor directly?
We will send it.
We will send it directly. So we will not look for the priority. When do we look for the priority? If patient 2 comes. Okay. If, for example, 8 o'clock, now there are 2 patients. At 8 o'clock, now there are 2 patients. Patient 1, patient 2. Now here we look for the priority. Whether priority patient 1 is 2, patient 2 is 1. Now we look for the priority because 2 patients are waiting at 8 o'clock. Now if you look at our example, at 8 o'clock, there is only one patient, no patient 2. So this is not important for us now. Priority is not important because one patient, doctor is sitting, patient is only one patient. We say, okay, go to the doctor. Okay, at 8:10, after 10 minutes, or let's say real scenario, 5 minutes, 8:05. Okay, now we got patient 2, and this patient is critical. You got the point? Patient 1 is with the doctor now. Patient 1 is with the doctor now. At 8:10, at 8:05, we got patient 2, more critical. Now what will we do as per our algorithm, preemptive algorithm?
Patient 2 will go to the doctor.
Patient 2 will go to the doctor because patient 2 is more critical than patient 1. So when are we looking at this, whether it is critical or not critical? At 8:05, means when the patient come to the hospital. In the beginning, there is only one patient. That's why we say, okay, you go because you are the only one. You start with the doctor. The doctor is seeing the patient, but after some time, there is emergency case. Patient 2 came, and this is more critical. Then okay, patient 1 stop. Patient 2 will go to the doctor. Likewise, what will happen after some time? Patient 8:10, we have patient 3, more critical. More critical. So what will we do now? We will stop patient 2. We'll say you go to the doctor. Do you understand the point now? Let's go back to our example.
Yes.
What is our example says now? At 0 milliseconds, like the hospital has started at 0 milliseconds, we don't have any other process at 0 milliseconds. If you look at these numbers, arrival time, it came at 1 millisecond, it came at 3 milliseconds. So we cannot wait for all the process to come in the system. Like, we cannot say, let all the patients come, then we will decide who is important, not important, and then we will send to the doctor. We will not do that in the real example. What we say, okay, patient 1 arrived at 0 milliseconds, no one else in the system. No one else in the system. So we say, okay, you go to the doctor first. So that's why process 1 is in the CPU. Are we clear, students, why it is in the CPU now?
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
so what happens here now? It is running. Process 1 is running at 1 millisecond. At 1 millisecond, we got another patient. I'm using the word patient here because we will understand easily. We got another patient with more priority 0, like emergency. Now what do? We check the emergency of this patient. This is 2. The emergency of this patient is 0, which means patient 2 or the process 2 is more important. So what will we do? We stop process 1. Okay, and we start process 2. Is that clear now? Is that clear now?
Yes.
Okay, now understand. This is another trickish thing you need to understand. At 2 milliseconds, which means somewhere here, at 2 milliseconds, we got another process 3. Process 3. But process 3 we did not start here. Why? Process 3 we did not start here. Why?
Because B2 more critical.
Yes, P2 is more critical than P3. So if you look at the numbers here, P2 is 0, P3 is 1, the number 1. So still this is the important process. So we are not going to stop this. We are going to continue this. Okay, that's why when process 3 came into the system at 2 milliseconds, we did not stop process 2 because still process 2 is important. So what we do, process 2 will complete at 6 milliseconds. Okay, now we are looking at 6 milliseconds here in the computer. How many processes are left in the system? How many processes are left in the system? Process 2 has completed the job. Now we are remaining with 2 processes, process 1 and process 3. Now which one will we send to the system?
3.
Process 3, because process 3 priority is highest one. Is everyone following, students? Is
Yes,
everyone
Mr.
following? Yeah, process 2 is completing here. When process 2 completed, there are 2 processes remaining in the system. Process 1 with priority 2, process 3 with priority 1. So we are going to choose process 3 because priority 1. That's why process 3 will complete the job. After process 3 has completed, process 1 will complete the job. Is that clear now?
Clear? Yes.
Okay, now look at the timings. So start at 0 millisecond, complete at 1 millisecond because process 2 came. Then from 1 millisecond to 5 milliseconds, we complete job. So 6 milliseconds. 6 milliseconds, process 3 will start, that is 2 milliseconds. So 6 plus 2, 8 milliseconds, that will complete the job. Process 1 has already completed 1 millisecond. So 7 minus 1, remaining time is only 6 millisecond. So 8 plus 6, it's going to be 14 milliseconds. So always we should know how much time it has completed. That's why better to write it. So process 1 has completed 1 millisecond. So remaining time 6 milliseconds. So this has completed straight away, nothing remaining. This has completed straight away, nothing remaining. So when the process come into picture, we need to look into the new process. Whichever is important, we need to send it. Okay, so that's what we have to keep in mind. So this is called as preemptive priority scheduling. Okay, now this is little bit trickish to understand. The waiting time. Turnaround time is easy. Turnaround time is easy. Okay, but to calculate the waiting time, it is going to be little bit trickish here. Okay, so look at the turnaround time first. So what is the formula for the turnaround time which I told you? Finish time minus arrival. Okay, so process 1, if I ask you when process 1 has completed, you will tell me straight away process 1 has completed at 14 milliseconds, because here also we'll see turnaround time. We'll see here 1. We'll not say 1. Process 1 has come at 0 but completed the job at 14 milliseconds. I told you, if you remember the example, patient 1 came and here patient 1 is waiting. Here also patient 1 is waiting. And here it is completing, which means we will calculate the waiting time. But first of all, when patient 1 has completed the job, it came at 0, completed at 14 milliseconds. That's why 14 minus 0 is 14 milliseconds is the turnaround time for process 1. Process 2 came at 6 milliseconds. Completed the job at 6 milliseconds. When it came 1 millisecond, always minus arrival time, that is 5 milliseconds. Same like the previous examples. Process 3 completed the job at 8 milliseconds, minus arrival time 2 milliseconds. So that is going to be 6 milliseconds. Okay, so that's what we have to understand. Now, the easy formula to calculate the waiting time here is, so we have to look at the turnaround time minus we have to look at the burst time. Look at this. 14 seconds to 14 milliseconds to complete the job. Okay, and the time it has taken to complete the job is 7 milliseconds. What it was doing the other time? Waiting. So easy to understand. I will give you easy formula in this kind of algorithms. Okay, so we'll say turnaround time. Remember this example, this formula is useful when the process is coming and going. If it is coming one time and going, like the previous example formulas which I gave you already. So how do we calculate the waiting time? So like I gave you the formulas to calculate the waiting time: start time minus arrival time. To calculate the turnaround time, finish time minus arrival time. That's the formula. Why? Because it's coming only one time. But now it is coming many times. Later also we'll see the next algorithm which comes many times. So this kind of formula we need to understand. Okay, I will give you one easy formula. How to calculate the waiting time: finish time minus burst time. What is burst time? The time, CPU burst time here, minus arrival time, if it is. arrival time. If you apply the formula, finish time minus burst time minus arrival time. So keep this formula. Later you can watch the lecture again so that you can have the concepts clear. Finish time minus burst time minus arrival time, you will get the waiting time. What is the logic? Finish time, it has completed at 14 milliseconds. But all the time it was not working. So how long it was working? Only 7 milliseconds it was working. So 17 milliseconds it was waiting. But if it has come late, we have to subtract that also. That's why we have to subtract the arrival time. But for process 1, arrival time is also 0. That's why 14 minus 7 minus 0 is going to be 7. Okay, so this is the formula. We apply the formula for process 2. Process 2, what is the waiting time for process 2? If you apply my formula, because you don't understand this properly, please don't take this, because here they write 70, 14, you will see 14 means here. Okay, so process 2, when you look at the end, you will see 6. But if you look at this, it is not 6, it is 1. So I don't want you to take this example from here. I want you to remember this formula. Okay, finish time minus burst time minus arrival time. See, write this formula. Okay, now we'll apply this formula for process 2. Process 2, finish time 6 milliseconds, burst time 5 milliseconds, arrival time 1 millisecond. So 6 minus 5 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. If you understand logically, process 2 came and straight away go to the CPU. That's why arrival time is 0. No waiting time for process 2. Okay, now let's do the same thing for process 3. Okay, so it is going to be 8 milliseconds. Finish time minus arrival time minus the burst time is 2 milliseconds minus the arrival time is 2 milliseconds. So 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4. If you look at logically, so it has completed the job. It has started to work at 6 milliseconds, but it came into the system at 2 milliseconds. So 4 milliseconds it was waiting. So I want to remember this formula: finish time minus burst time minus arrival time. Okay, this formula you can apply for any algorithm. You will get answer for waiting time. For any algorithm, you remember the formula, you will get the answers. Okay, so this is called as preemptive priority. This formula you can apply here also for waiting time. If you calculate the waiting time, so finish time, this one, process 2, and okay, it is not applicable here because no arrival time, but you can say finish time minus the burst time, because no arrival time. Finish time minus burst. So process 2, finish time is 3 milliseconds. The burst time is 3 milliseconds, so 0. Process 1, so finish time 24 milliseconds. The burst time 21 milliseconds, so waiting for 3 milliseconds. So we'll get the answer. So remember my formula, this formula. For all the algorithms, you can use this. Finish time minus burst time. Well, what is the burst time? Time to complete the job minus arrival time, 0. This is the algorithm. I will. Okay, this is another point to discuss: starvation and aging. Then we'll go to the next algorithm. Take a break now for 5 minutes, and then after that we will continue. Just take a break for 5 minutes. Okay, let's continue now. So here they are issuing some problem. When I'll go back to the hospital example. So as we have been discussing about the preemptive scheduling here. So patient one say this is the first patient goes to the doctor with priority one, for example. We have patient two. Okay, so this is with priority, let's say priority. We have patient three with priority 4. Okay, we get now patient 4 with priority 3. We have patient 5 with priority 2. We have patient 6 with priority 1. We have patient 7 with again priority 2. Likewise, what is my point here is just look at the numbers. Okay, so patient 1, forget about patient 1 because let's say patient 1 has completed the job. Now patient 2 is with priority 2, go to the doctor. Okay, so next should be patient 3. Patient 3 has to go to the doctor, but we got patient 4 will go to the doctor because priority is more. We get patient 5 go to the doctor, priority is more. Patient 6 again with more priority will go to the doctor. Likewise, what is happening in the system is we are getting list of process with more priority than process 3. Then what this poor patient has to do? Imagine or understand the situation. Imagine or understand the situation. So this patient came with this emergency, but they are seeing so many other patients with more important than this patient. Now, what about this patient? Do this patient have to keep on waiting? What shall we do about him? Understand the problem? Understand the problem, students?
Not yet, Mister.
Okay, so I will make it clear again with the process. Okay, so we have process 1. I'll write the priority. Process 1 with priority 1. Process 2 with priority 2. Process 3 with priority 3. Process 4 with priority 4. Process 5 with priority 2. Process 6 with priority 3. Process 7 with priority 2. Process 8 with priority 1. Process 9 with priority 3. So now my point is about this process. Okay, so first process 1 will complete the job. Fine. There is because priority number 1. Process 2 will go to the system. It is with the system, so it will complete the job. Process 2 is fine. Then process 3 came into the picture. Process 3 will go to the system. Next, actually, process 4 has to go to the system as per the queue. As per the queue, process 4 has to go to the system. But when the process wanted to go to the system, process 5 came with more priority. Then because this algorithm is a priority algorithm, so what we do now is we say, okay, you are not important. You came here, but you are not important. We want to send process 5 because it is more important. Okay, process 5 will go. Then it want to go. Process 5 has completed the job. Then it want to go. We got another job with more priority than process 4. That is process priority number 3. So still waiting. Then okay, finish the job. Now process 4 want to go. We got another job with more priority. So waiting. We got another job with more priority. Waiting. Now we got another job with more priority. What about this process? Does this process will get a chance to go? Understand the problem? Understand the problem?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now this problem is called as starvation. This problem is called as starvation. What is starvation? I will read now. Hope you follow the example. What is starvation is? Starvation occurs when a process waits indefinitely to be allotted to the CPU. When this will happen, it is not waiting for some time. The process is now waiting indefinitely, which means if I go back to my example, we don't know when this process 4 will go to the CPU because we are getting pool of new process 5, process 6, process 7, process 8, process 9, maybe after that also highest priority. Now this poor process is waiting indefinitely. So that is the problem. We call it as a starvation. What is starvation? Starvation occurs when a process waits indefinitely to be allotted to the CPU. Okay. So priority scheduling algorithms are susceptible to starvation. Why? Because imagine process 1 is waiting for the CPU and stream of high priority process is arriving. Like I gave in my example, process 4 is waiting in the CPU and now we are getting stream of high priority process in the system. Then what about this process 4? This process 4 will be starvating. Okay, so if this process arrives sufficiently fast, P1 will never get a chance to execute. So when we go to the example, now this process 4 will never get a chance to the CPU. Do you think this is good in the system? That one process is not going to the CPU?
No.
No. So if you look at the real life example also, if you think I told you to relate the process with the patient, so we have a patient now waiting indefinitely in the hospital. So he want to go, but we got another patient, say more important, you please wait. We got another patient, more important, please you wait. We got more patient, more important, you please wait. So this is actually not good. Now the system also in the system, what happens? This is now a process. We cannot say you keep on waiting indefinitely. So this is called as starvation. Now what is the solution to the starvation is they introduce a concept called aging. Aging. You know what do you mean by aging? Like when we grow older, we say I am aging. So 10 years kid, when they become 11 years old, it is aging. When they become 12 years old, it is aging. When they are become 13 years old, we are aging. So normally, what do you mean by aging? It's like growing older. Growing older. Now, what actually they are telling to do us is when the time increase, let me say waiting time increase, now what we are going to do, increase the priority. Now what they are telling the solution is aging. So what is aging here is when the waiting time is increasing, automatically we need to increase the priority. So what is the solution now? So process 4 waiting for maybe few milliseconds, depending upon the operating system. Okay, depending upon the operating system, I'm just giving an example here. So it waits for a few seconds, okay, not going to the CPU. Then we make, because it is waiting for some time, we say now you are priority number 3. You got the point, students? When the time is increasing, we are going to change the priority. Okay, say for example, in my example, this is again 2 milliseconds, this is 3 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds. Still, it will never get a chance because 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. We got another process with 0. Still, it didn't get a chance. After some time, because of the algorithm, what we say, okay, increase the priority. Don't keep the same because it is waiting for some time. Increase the priority. Now it will become 2. Then there is a possibility that it will go to the CPU. Still, there is no chance. Okay, increase the priority to 1. Still there is no chance, increase the priority to 0. I hope you are following my point. What we are doing here, for the starvation, what is the solution? Aging. What is aging? When the process time, waiting time is increasing, or in my other words, if it is waiting for long time, we need to increase the priority. When we do that, automatically after some time, definitely the priority of the process will increase and it will go to the system. Hope you follow, understand the point. What we are doing now, we understand what is starvation. If the more priority jobs coming in front of process one, it will never get a chance of going to the system. What is the solution for this is aging. So solution to the starvation problem is to increase the priority of the process as a function of how long they have been waiting for the CPU, and we call the solution as aging. So what is aging? We need to increase the priority of the process depending upon how long they have been waiting. So when we do that, definitely the process will go to the system. So this is called as a priority algorithm. Now we have, do we have the time? Okay. I will just give you the algorithm. I will not give you the solution for, I will not explain the algorithm. There is another algorithm called round robin. I'm taking long time for this lecture because, I started last week. After the quiz also, I have completed some portion of that because as I mentioned, you need to completely understand that. So that's why I'm taking more time for this lecture. Now what is the round robin is like playing a game. So what is round robin is, I will tell you the example. Now we understand some algorithms like, some algorithms, if you look at first come, first serve, process one will go to the CPU for a long time, and then maybe process two, and maybe process three. We understand first come, first serve is non-preemptive. Non-preemptive because once the process starts, we cannot stop. Okay. Now, if you understand the priority, we have some problems there. So priority two models. If I apply non-preemptive, this is same like this. Non-preemptive. So first job, process one, then maybe according to the priority, maybe process three, maybe process four. So likewise, depending upon the priority, the process will go. So this is non-preemptive. So here also, there are some problems, there are some issues we have seen. Okay, either it is preemptive or non-preemptive, we have seen some issues. Now, in the real-time system, what exactly we want is, all the process should have equal priority. All the process should have equal priority, or I should not use the word priority, preference. So which means one is small, one is big, one is priority, one is not priority. We don't want to have such kind of concept. We want to see all the process are equal. Okay, and at the same time, if you look at the first come first serve algorithm, so one process is working for long time. So if even it is small, I gave you already the example. If this process is 100 milliseconds, and this process is a small process which is 2 milliseconds, it has to wait for all the time to execute. Okay, so and also if we want to run more number of processes in the system, we want to find a solution, final solution. We want to find some, I don't want to say final solution, I want to say good solution for all the problems we see in the algorithms. And now what is the solution is round robin. What is round robin is like playing a game. Process one will go to the CPU for few milliseconds. whatever the time, we don't bother whether it is 100 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, doesn't matter. It can go to the CPU only for few milliseconds, and that few milliseconds we call it as time quantum. Time quantum. So, like for example, I want to take a lecture. I want to take a lecture of 3 hours. Can I take a lecture of 3 hours continuously in the timetable? Can I do that? Suppose I have a big lecture. Can I take continuously 3 hours in the lecture? Suppose 8 o'clock is my lecture, and my lecture is very big. Can I take all 3 hours from your time in the class?
No.
No.
Because after 2 hours, another teacher will come. They say, no, this is my time. This is my time. You have to stop your class. Do you understand that, students?
Yes, Mr.
Same kind of system is now we are talking about round robin algorithm. What is round robin algorithm? Like imagine the teachers taking the class. Okay, so teacher 1 will take the class. How long? We have a time quantum. I want to give you, the meanings of these words. We have time quantum. What is our time quantum? 2 hours. I cannot take a class more than 2 hours because after 2 hours, another teacher will come. Okay, so that's the same algorithm. What happens in the round robin algorithm is process 1 will go to the CPU for few milliseconds, and that few milliseconds are called as time quantum. Example, 4 milliseconds. Just example. Then process 1 has to stop. Process 2 will go to the CPU for another 4 milliseconds, then it has to stop. Then process 3 will go to the CPU for 4 milliseconds, then it has to stop. Process 4 will go to the CPU for 4 milliseconds, and it has to stop. Like, they are playing a game. They are going to the CPU, they are coming back. They are going to the CPU, they are coming back. They are going to the CPU, they are coming back. Likewise, one process cannot keep the CPU for long time. So when we do this, what is the advantage here? All the process will get an equal chance, a fair chance to go to the CPU one by one. Everyone will go to the system. Everyone will go to the system, and they cannot be there for the long time, and everyone will be happy. Do you think this is a good solution?
Maybe.
I think this is, because we are giving a fair chance. Okay, so we say patient 1, you go to the doctor and don't stay for a long time. Just stay only for 10 minutes. After that, stop. You have to come from there. Then patient 2 will go to the doctor. Okay, maybe it will take more time, but you cannot spend a lot of time. Patient 2 will go to the doctor for another 10 minutes and come back. Patient 3 will go to the doctor, another 10 minutes, will come back. So when you say everyone will get a equal chance. So this is actually the round robin algorithm. Hope you understand the main point about round robin algorithm. So how to do the round robin algorithm? Now look at this. If you understand this time quantum, now you should follow what is time quantum. Time quantum means the time which the process can spend in the system. Okay, now let me read this. Round robin scheduling is designed for time sharing systems. What do we mean by time sharing? The CPU time is shared between number of processes. A small unit of time is called as a time quantum, which is defined. Like I gave you the example, our class time quantum is 2 hours. So the teacher can take the class only for time quantum. But in the computer, we don't have hours, we have just milliseconds. Okay, so example, maybe 4 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, 6 milliseconds. Okay, now a ready queue is treated as a circular list. So what is a circular list? Now you have to understand this concept. With this, I will stop for today. Okay, we will not see the example. So we have a CPU, and this is our ready queue. Already we have seen about the queues. Process 1, process 2, process 3. Why they are calling it as a circular list? So process 1 will go to the CPU for time quantum. That is, for example, 4 milliseconds. 4 milliseconds. After 4 milliseconds, what will happen is there will be a switching between the process. We cannot stay more than that. Because of the time quantum, process 2 has to leave the CPU. What will happen? It is like a cycle. Circular means like a cycle. It will come back and stay back. Again, ready. We are following the example. Process 1 will go to the CPU and then it will stay for 4 milliseconds and then it has to come back and join in the end of the queue. Same thing will happen to process 2. Process 2 will go to the CPU. After 4 milliseconds, process 2 will come back and join the queue. Okay, so now that is done. Now process 3 will go to the CPU. After 4 milliseconds, process 3 will come back join the queue. Now if you look at that, this is like a cycle, circular, like repeating. That's why they call it as a circular list. The ready queue is treated as a circular list. The CPU scheduler goes around the ready queue, allocating the CPU to the process for a time interval up to 1 time quantum. So 1 time quantum can be 4 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, 6 milliseconds, depending upon that. So what it will do, it will take the process from here to the scheduler. The CPU scheduler take one process from here, put it to the CPU for how long? For up to 1 time quantum. After that, it has to come back and join in the end of the queue. Then process 2 will go for 1 time quantum, will come back and join the queue. Likewise, for example, process 3, I'm just giving one example to stop the lecture. Okay, so imagine process 3 is just 3 milliseconds. Okay, 3 milliseconds. When process 3 will go, the time quantum is 4 milliseconds, but it will not stay for 4 milliseconds. It will stay only for 3 milliseconds and that's it. The job is done, which means it will not come back. The process 3 is terminated, done. Is it clear, students?
Yes, Mr.
Okay,
Yes,
like for
Mr.
example, like I told you, my class is 2 hours. Okay, my class is 2 hours. But today, for example, I have a lecture very small, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Okay, so I completed the lecture. Are we going to be there for 2 hours in the class?
No.
No. So you leave the class, I will also leave the class because it is only 30 minutes. Our class is completed. So 2 hours, we are not going to be in the classroom. Same thing happens in the system. Time quantum is 4 milliseconds here. But process 3 is 3 milliseconds. So it will complete the job 3 milliseconds and leave the CPU. That's it. My job is done. So that's what we need to know about the round robin scheduling. So I will explain more examples about round robin scheduling when we come back next week. Maybe half an hour next class I will complete the lecture and then I will start a new lecture. And what I will do now is I will send you some examples. Okay, so probably after the next lecture or maybe before that, I will send you some examples. You should try the answers and you should send me like the homework. Okay, so actually we have the tutorial. I will send you the tutorial. Already it is given in the lecture material, but I will send you a few more examples. Okay, so I want you to try the algorithms and then you should send me the answers. Okay, so it is not necessary that you should send me, but if you complete the examples, you will get the understanding. Then only you can do your exams properly. Okay, so you understand the point for today. With this, we will stop round-robin scheduling. We have not seen the example. I will explain because it is too heavy for today. I will stop with this for now. So next class, when we come back, I will complete few more examples and we will revise all the algorithms one more time, and then we'll start the new lecture. Okay. So with that, for today.